Ireland.
Hey,
Woohoo.
Joel. Welcome. Thanks for coming.
Yes. Happy early
For
St.
those-
Patty's Day.
Oh, yeah, it's St. Patrick's Day. Hey, I've got the green going on.
We like to say that we did this intentionally with the green and the orange.
We did, all intentional. For those of you joining in, type into the chat where you're from. We want to see, we have a global audience today. It's so exciting. Austin, Texas.
Whoop, whoop.
Cincinnati. Susanna, thanks for coming.
Maryland.
Heather from Maryland.
Cincinnati.
Got Margaret from Portland. That's coming in.
New York in the house.
Got some Gulf Coast, Texas coming in. Beth and Sam. Susan, good to see you from Wickford, Rhode Island. Mike's coming in from Massachusetts. Hey, and Lisa from Yorkshire, UK. All right.
Amazing.
Joining. Yay, Martin from Zurich. Thank you for being here.
All right.
JJ from Los Angeles. Woohoo! So good to see all these names, and I'm imagining the faces. We can't see the faces, but I'm imagining.
All right.
Well,
We're about to get started.
Yes.
All you.
Yes, we are. Well, good morning. Well, I guess good afternoon, good evening. Yes, you're joining us from all over the world. I'm Michelle Aduca, and I would like to welcome you to South by Southwest Online. Of course, we wish everyone could be with us here in Austin, but we're very excited to connect with everyone in the digital world, and we have a lot of very inspiring panels. And today I am pleased to introduce Gary Ware and Heather Willems and their professional development session, Draw Your Future, Move Uncertainty to Possibility. And I've had the pleasure of working with them over the past couple months. And one thing I can say is you are definitely gonna have a lot of fun this morning. So Gary, Heather, take it away.
Oh my gosh. You all are just too much. Oh, wow. Thank you so much for that amazing introduction. Welcome. In case you're wondering where you are, this is the interactive session about Draw Your Future, Move from Uncertainty to Possibility. And before we talk about who we are and get started, we'd like to know a little bit about you and how are you currently feeling. And we're going to give you a prompt. With all the prompts, just because there's so many of us, if we tell you, hey, we're going to create a chat storm, that means wait to hit enter till you get the cue from either myself or Heather. And so this is going to be our first test to see how well that we do. And this is an interactive session, which means that we hope that you participate as much as possible. We wish that we could be there in person, but if you can just use your just imagination, and imagine that we are together in Austin in an amazing room, collaborating. That would be great. That will help you get the most out of this session. And there may be some times where we will invite you, a few of you, to share what you've drawn or some highlights from our activity. So just a quick housekeeping, there should be a raised hand feature. And when we ask for that, if you would like to come up, we'll bring you up as a panelist for a short period of time so we can have a conversation. And without further ado, Heather, kick us off with our first activity. What are we doing?
Yes. So what we want to do is we want to get in touch with what we are feeling in our bodies right now. So the question is, what is your current emotional state if you were the weather. So using the weather as a metaphor, we're going to do kind of a weather report, checking in with our body, how we're feeling in our body, and if it was the weather, what would that be? So go ahead. I'm going to press send here so you have the prompt, but type in how you're feeling as the weather into the chat, and I will count to 3, and then we can all share at the
So
same
yeah.
time.
So
Ready?
go ahead and not yet. Give them another second.
Okay.
But an example,
Hey.
if you were confused,
Mm.
maybe it's like sunny with a chance of shower or something like that. But yes, go ahead.
Feeling breezy and windy right now
Yeah.
with all the excitement.
Right.
So as we're waiting, another thing that we're going to have for this interactive session, if you have paper and a pen, that would be fantastic. You're going to find that very useful. So if you have paper and a pen ready, go ahead and do that. All right, I'm going to go ahead and do the countdown. 1, 2, 3, hit send.
Enter.
Woohoo!
Woo! That's an amazing
Rainbows,
chat storm.
cold,
Yes.
sunny,
Yeah.
cloudy, chances of showers, brewing thunderstorms, tornado warnings. Wow, overcast. All right, balmy and breezy, windy. All right, we've got some good emotions to work with here today.
Yes, exactly.
And this is a fantastic reminder that even though we're staring at a screen, behind it is a person, and within all of us, we have our own lens and our own feelings that we're feeling and expressing things through. So it's something we're going to get in touch with today.
Anyways, thank you so much for playing along with us. Like I said, this is going to be an interactive session, and we're going to, in just a second, we're going to tell you what you can expect from our session, and then we're going to jump right into it. And it's both of our hopes that if you just allow yourself to play along, have some fun, you will get, what you came for and then some, and you will leave with some really powerful tools that will help you. So let's jump into it. My name is Gary Ware. I run a company called Breakthrough Play, where it's my mission to use purposeful play and applied improvisation to help people like yourself connect on a deeper level, be more creative, and at the end of the day, be the best version of yourself. And I am here with my amazing co-facilitator, Heather Willems.
Hi, everybody. I'm Heather Willems. I'm a visual strategist over at TwoLine Studio. I'm also the author of Draw Your Big Idea. And what we love to do at TwoLine is design and facilitate creative collaborative sessions. And we use creativity as a tool to solve really tough problems for our clients. One of the things that we do is virtual graphic recording. And you will see Ona Regalis is here with us today. She's part of our team, and she is going to be graphic recording our entire session. So what the heck does that mean? I mean, she is going to be listening to what's being said, organizing all of the key thoughts and ideas, and drawing them into a single page that's going to give us a visual, tangible takeaway of everything that we discussed here. So Ona, thanks so much for being here.
Yes, and one more quick thing before we move on to what we're going to cover. Just when you're in the chat, make sure that you have it set to panelists and attendees so that everyone can see your thoughts, because I have this belief that if I exchange $1 with you and you give me $1, we leave with $1. But if you bring an idea and I bring an idea, we both leave with ideas. So we want to make sure that everyone has a chance to sort of get some amazing takeaways. So if you can just make sure that you have that so that everyone can see your thoughts and takeaways, that would be great. And Heather, keep going. I'm going to change the slide.
Yeah, let's go to the next slide. Okay, so we are going on a journey, everybody. These are what we're going to be doing in the next hour. Gary's going to walk us through some improv agreements that you can use with your team and here today. We are going to befriend our fear and uncertainty. And we're also going to do that by drawing out that uncertainty. We're going to take some time to shape your possibilities. We're going to look at how we're going to move from where we are in the brewing thunderstorms and tornado warnings, and bring that into a place of mastery where we're able to have a lot of clarity and make some really great decisions. And then we're going to give you some tools to turn your ideas into reality. Go on to the next. Yes. And so what we promise to you today is that we're going to give you discovery tools and strategies to shift your relationship with fear. We're also going to help you to gain clarity and prioritize for lasting change. And lastly, develop a practice that's going to help you move from that point of passivity where you feel stuck in uncertainty and give you some active decision making. We also want to give a little bit of a disclaimer. Gary and I are not psychologists. Okay, we're not
No.
doctors, not doctors yet. These tools are super powerful, and we want to invite you to only go as deep as you are comfortable doing. Okay, so what I'd like for you to do right now is I want to ask you a question. What are you feeling uncertain about right now?
Yeah.
Go ahead and write that down on a piece of paper that you have near you. So just like I chose the word fear. So go ahead and write that down, and we're going to come back to that. And that can be used as our intention for the entire session.
Could be work related. It could be a personal. It could be something, a project at work, wherever that is, because we like this to be as practical as possible. So when you are doing these activities, you have something to reference.
Exactly. And don't worry if it feels like a pretty big problem, because if you can't have fun with that problem, you're never going to solve it. So we're going to have lots of fun today. Oh, yes. And here is the structure that we're going to be moving through. So normally, Gary and I don't do a 1-hour session on this content. It can be a full day session. But we're going to tap into a few bits of it and give you some structure for it. So we're going to start out looking at the fear. We're going to tap into that real soon. Then we're actually going to jump up and we're going to bring you into a point of mastery, like what that feels like to stand in your confidence and get some of those downloads from that mastery state of mind. And that's going to give you a few action items that you can take to use in that strategy and give you some actions that you can take to move forward.
And so my work comes from the world of improvisation. I have been performing improv on stages for the last decade or so, and I've been using it in my work for the last 5 years. And we have these agreements that are like sort of guidelines that allow us to create magic on stage without a script. I'm saying this here, and it would be great if we were in person, but these are some really great guidelines to help you get the most out of this session. With improv, if you've heard of improv, you probably heard about the concept called yes and yes and is all about building, accepting and building. When we ask you to sort of like tap into like what are some things that you are uncertain about, some things that you want to move forward with, sometimes the first thing that pops in your mind, you might like, huh? Where did that come from? I invite you to yes and yourself. Build that idea. Again, this is just the playground. This is the sandbox where we're working through some of these techniques. But this will help you get better. Also, be present. We know that you're all over the world. And there's so many things that you could be doing. But how can you just set that aside for the next 50 minutes or so and allow yourself to get the gift of what we're here to bring for you, and then listen and respond. Heather and myself, we're going to give you a number of prompts. Some are going to be drawing activities, some are going to be sort of movement activities, and listen to what is presented. We like to say in improv, everything's an offer, and respond to that. And then for some of you, you may not have any experience with drawing or doodling, or some of these sort of movement things. And in improv, we say there are no mistakes, only gifts. Wherever you are, that's where you are. And just use that as a starting point. That brings me to my next one is be spontaneous and embrace mistakes. Heather's going to talk all about that when we get into the drawing, portion. Something that may look like a mistake, again, going back to the previous agreement, is that, there are no mistakes, only gifts. And then at the end of the day, don't judge. If you are like someone like myself that has that like sort of inner critic, that static, that radio station, just turn it down 2 or 3 notches so that you can play along. And if you all agree to that, if can I see some yeses in the chat, and that will signify that we are ready to play. And then I'm going to turn over to Heather for our first activity.
All right. So we're going to get you drawing right away. So as we're talking, I'm probably one of the only well, we can't see each other right now, but there's no need to make any eye contact with the camera. If you just doodle and draw throughout the entire session, you are doing exactly the right thing. Because when you are drawing, you're actually retaining more information, 29% more information than if you were not doodling along. So through this, and I'm going to tell you a story in a moment, but as I am, just know that everyone can draw. Sometimes folks get panicky when they hear that they're going to draw, but I believe that every single person can draw. And these 5 elements right here, the triangle, square, circle, line, and a dot, by combining these 5 elements, you can create anything. So I think that's all we need for that slide, Gary.
Yep.
And we can skip over that too. It's,
cool. So I'm just going to take
this
down
is
my
part of the pre-work that you can do. Perfect. So grab a piece of paper that you have with you right now and just start to make a squiggle. You can start to draw, doodle. It makes something nonsensical. Just start making some marks on the page. And this exercise came to mind when Gary and I first met. It was at the beginning of the pandemic, and we recognized that we both had children that were the same age. They're 3. And my daughter, she actually was feeling terrified. So one day she woke up, she's like, "Mom, there's monsters in my room." Like, all right, let's draw it out. So I had her to start drawing what this monster looked like. And lo and behold, her fear subsided. And it reminded me of a podcast that I'd recently heard, a story on Tara Brach's podcast. She's a psychologist, and she also teaches Buddhist meditation. And she was telling a story about Buddha on his path to enlightenment. He kept running across the demon Mara, who was trying to disturb his path. And instead of trying to hide from the demon, instead of trying to, shove her away in a little box or a crate somewhere, that's what she was doing. He invited her to tea, or him to tea. So they had tea. He got close to his fear and took the opportunity to understand what it needed. And so I went back to Pira and I asked her, thinking like, ooh, what can we learn from this fear? Like, what does the fear need? Is it trying to protect her in some way? And she said that her fear needed some chocolate cake. So sometimes that's all you need, is just a little bit of chocolate cake and cuddling, and that'll take care of it too. But so now you've got some doodles that are on your page here. And now I'd like you to remember the triangles, the dots, squares, and start adding to that doodle and draw your own monster. And we talked about the uncertainty that you were feeling. Like, what does that uncertainty feel like? Turn that doodle into a monster. So I started with this, and with the magic of television, magic of Zoom, I turned it into a strange dragon. But start to draw out what that monster would look like. Oh, and so this is the first time that we're virtual at South by Southwest. I was just remembering that my very first South by Southwest was in 2010. And I just started my business doing graphic recording, and I felt like I had to show people what it was. So 2010, Dana Boyd was speaking in Ballroom D, if you can all picture that. And I bullied my way up to the front of the room, fought my way up with this 4-foot by 8-foot gleaming white blank board, propped it up right next to the stage. And I was going to draw Dana Boyd speaking. Behind me were 3,000 people. Just remembering it right now, my hands are sweating. I was shaking in my freaking boots. And I remember thinking, man, there's an aisle right behind me. I can just bolt down that aisle and out the back door. No one will ever notice. But I was frozen. I couldn't do a thing. So what I ended up doing, I just started to draw. I started to color in the title of the board. And before I knew it, Dana said, and the 3 points that I'll be leaving you with are, and I looked at my board and it was completely full, much like Ona's drawing is right now, completely full of all of the key points that she had made. I had entered into, from drawing, I entered into a flow state, and I'd forgotten that I was afraid. And it was interesting. So I got very curious about this. There's actually have been studies that have been done by this. I'm sorry, studies that have been done on this. Earl Miller, he is over at MIT, and he's a neuroscientist, and he was studying whether or not people can really truly multitask. And guess what? The answer is no. But what was interesting about this study that he did is he found that it worked with fear as well. And if he found that if you start doing something, you put your body into action, like drawing, you cannot feel fear, the fear that we imagine. So we can only do one thing at a time. And Lori Santos, who is she's a doctor over at Yale, runs the Science of Happiness program. She actually noted that when you start drawing, it kind of hacks your autonomic nervous system, right? And when you start to get into that flow state, your breath starts to change, your heart rate starts to slow down, and you enter into a place of calm where you're able to make some really strong decisions. So let's take a look. Oh, we can't see exactly. Oh, we do have a way to see. So we'd love to see some of the drawings that you have made, like some of the monsters that you have made.
Yeah, so if anyone would like to just quickly come on and show, just click the raise hand and we will get you promoted to all right, a few of you.
And so some of you are not feeling as brave. Go ahead and you can add it into the chat.
Yeah, cool. And then we'll spotlight you. We'll put you up. Everyone, give it up for Michelle. Hi, welcome, Michelle. And we will.
Hi. Let me turn around my camera.
All right. Wow.
So this is.
Beautiful. Real quick, and then we have a few more people coming up. We'll spotlight you as well, and want to ask some questions. What was that like? Just going through that activity of taking a doodle and transforming it into a monster. If you don't mind sharing some of those, and we have Francesca as well. We'll spotlight Francesca, and we'll get everyone.
Hi.
Yeah, can you show yours?
Not sure you can see it properly.
Okay, it looks like a dragon with a tail that's pointing upward.
Cool, I love it. And for both of you, just curious, what was that like? Again, just taking the doodles and transforming it into a monster. This is just the first step, but love to get some thoughts.
I really enjoyed it. Go for it.
I realized mine kind of looks like the Welsh flag, and I'm in Wales. So, and the thing I was trying, I wrote down was that because I'm trying to write an album at the moment and I'm struggling with lyrics and in Welsh, and I don't know, I just ended up drawing a Welsh dragon.
Cool.
Nice.
I love it. Yeah, and we're gonna talk about like our higher self sending us cues just a moment, but I just feel like you're starting to tap into that. Awesome. And Michelle, any other sort of
Yeah,
takeaways for you?
I really enjoyed it. I've always been a doodler, and so it was kind of nice to hear that it is actually helpful. And I think it made me think about that question you were saying about if you were the weather, what would you be? Because I kind of started to realize all the mixed emotions I was feeling as I was drawing it.
Yep. Very
Yes,
good. It
I
helps us
love that.
to calm down and actually start to pay attention to what's going on within us.
Yes. And so thank you. Round of applause, virtual round of applause. We can send them back as attendees. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. If anyone wants to put some words in the chat of how you felt and stuff like that, that would be great. And you can always tag either of us. Um, at Gary Ware or at Heather_Willems, and use the hashtag draw your future. We love to see your sketches, and that would be awesome. Cool. So a few thoughts in there. Rosanna, I forgive me if I'm butchering the name. Was confused, but did my best to move forward without worrying about what it should be.
Nice.
Again, uh, yes, a mentor of mine used to say, if you're confused, you're about to learn something. The interesting thing is that when we were kids, we just jumped into something. But as we get, older, we sort of need as much clarity as possible before we can do anything. And so you'll notice that with some of these instructions, we are intentionally vague as to not sort of push you in one direction.
Jules is saying she was surprised at how accurate it depicted her emotions, and Hannah was saying that she uses drawing all the time when she's taking notes at school. Fantastic. It's an excellent way to remember content and really start to process it. So Gary, can we really condition ourselves out of fear? Can we change the way that we approach fear?
Yes. So in regards to fear, and so before I do that, I just want to invite everyone to think about a dream that you had. Has there ever been a dream when you woke up and you were like, whoa, uh, and you like had to second guess yourself, like, was that real? Because, and I'm pretty sure if we were in person, there would probably be a number of people like sort of nodding and raising their hand. Because the way that our brains work, our brain's number one job is to keep you alive, is survival. And as it pertains to fear, and your imagination and things like that, sometimes your brain has a hard time understanding what is dream and what is reality. And the point about this is to help you understand what is your signature way that fear shows up, because everyone has their own way. Some people, they, when they start to get into a fear state, they start to get the palmy hands, or maybe the sweats, or maybe they start to go into that fight or freeze. And want you to start to think about that of like, oh, how do I show up with fear? Because there's a few types of fear. There is real fear, as in something is happening to you right in this moment. Maybe someone, came up and was like, "Hey, give me your purse, give me your wallet." And in that moment, that is real fear. That is where your body is going into that fight, flight, or freeze. And the point of that is to help you survive. To give you what is necessary so that you can, take care of yourself. However, when we start to think about things that could happen, or maybe things that happened in the past, your body has that same sort of response. Again, if you think about something that happened, or maybe something that could happen, you might start having shortness of breath and things like that. And the reason why, I say this is just to help you realize that you are in more control than you give yourself credit for. You just have to first have awareness that this is happening, and then once you start to have awareness, you can start to shift. And a mentor of mine, once said, worry is just a misuse of imagination. When we're thinking about all the uncertainty and the things that could happen, we're essentially using our imagination, and we're thinking about all the bad things that could happen, and it's with good intention, because we think, our brains are a little bit outdated, but we think like, all right, if I could think of all the bad things that could happen, I could potentially like deal with it in a better state when that does happen. Fact of the matter is, it doesn't really work that way, but it does keep you from taking action. As Heather mentioned, when you're in that fear state, it does make some things go offline. And one of those is your creativity, because it's siphoning blood to all other areas of your body. And so, what the cool thing is, if you can think about when you're in a fear state and you can sort of embody that, you can use your imagination for the opposite. And we're going to get into that in a moment, so I'm just going to set that aside. But I just wanted to first, tell you what fear was, so that you can have a little bit more of an understanding of it, so that you can start to take control over it. So, any other? I'm going to quickly just look to the chat, because again, we want this to be as interactive as possible. This is a workshop, and some really great points that you're putting in there. Like Rob, realize my fear of judgment is a driver of pleasing others versus owning my own strength. Yes, I give you a little.
Carly had a really great one. She said that she tried to draw scary monsters, but it kept coming up as funny faces. And her takeaway from that was, maybe I should take things a little bit more lightheartedly and not look at things being too scary.
Yes, yes. And Michelle mentioned about panicking, about how to convert it, doodles, to a monster. But then again, taking the advice of Heather, just started, making a mark, and then now she's actually surprised. She loves the drawing. It's all about going into action, stepping into the unknown, and that's awesome. So, I think it's time for another activity. What do you think,
Yeah,
Heather?
I
All
think
right,
that's
cool. All right. So, um, as I mentioned, if you can embody your fear, you can embody your strengths. And so, what we're going to do, we first started with a drawing activity, got you warmed up with that. So now we're going to go from the drawing into the body, and we're going to do a really cool activity where we're going to sort of go back and forth between sort of bodily things, and then we're going to go back to the pen, so we can get these insights and put them out. Want to make sure that you're all in a safe spot. If you're driving or somewhere like that, just make note of it, and you can interact with make note of it, and when you're in a safer spot, do that. So I just want to put that disclaimer out to everyone. But what I would love to invite you to do now is, we're gonna use our imaginations, and I would like to first get you to think about what is something that that's holding you back, something that you're scared of, and imagine that you were just it's embodying you, like it's fully taking over everything. And how would you contort your body if you were your fear, or the thing that you are scared of? And most, and go ahead and do that now. Again, uh, can't see you, but we just assume that you're doing it. But typically, people, when they think about that, they get very closed. They, their hands are, on their neck. They're protecting themselves. They try to, you know, stuff like that. And as you're doing that, I'd like to invite you to think of, like, what is a sound that you are hearing when you're embodying your fear? What's potentially a shape or a color? So just take a few moments and just get into that now. Okay. All right. So while you're in that state, don't completely shake it away. We're going to use
Yep.
that. We're going to put it down on paper.
So now grab a piece of paper again and start to draw what that looks like. So take it out of your body and put it onto the paper. And just like with the monsters and the doodles, like it doesn't have to be anything that is figurative. A friend of mine, a very good friend of mine, works with art in a community center that as a healing tool. And she says that art is not a thing, it's a way. And another one of our South by friends, Mike Rhodes, he likes to say it's about ideas and not art. So you can make something that is a squiggle, that is a bunch of nonsensical drawings that can make you feel, depict the way that that makes you feel. I'm showing it up in the chat or in my screen if anybody wants to look up. We heard the thunderstorm in the beginning as one of the weather report outs. So you can also add something figurative in there if you'd like to, but it can be exactly what it needs to be. And what's great about this is you're able to take it out of your body and put it onto the paper. And then you can take that paper and just set it aside. You know it's there. You can access that fear, that uncertainty whenever you need it, but you don't need it in your body anymore.
Yes. All right. So now that you've taken a moment to embody your fear, your uncertainty, whatever is sort of keeping you up at night, now we're going to practice going the opposite way. And so, what I would like to invite you to do is think about a time when you felt confident, when you felt empowered, when things were just going your way. It could be something related to your career. It could be something in your childhood. For me, I personally love thinking about when I was 9 years old and I was playing Little League. And uh, I really wasn't that good at baseball, but it was just something that I was just put in as a child. And the reason why I remember this so much is that I was just in the zone. You know that feeling in the zone when you're not really using your brain, you're just sort of reacting and responding. And in that game, I got a double play, called a pop fly. It was just everything was just on. And when I think about that, it just reminds me that, oh wow, anything is possible. So that is it for me. But again, think of that for you. And once you have that, bring that into your body, let it sort of engulf you, and imagine like it was an HD and full surround, and sit or stand how you would sit, if you were confident and you were embodying that moment. It's like a snapshot in time. And just for a moment, maybe you want to close your eyes just to really take it in, but just how would you sit? How would you embody that moment of confidence? What color would it be? You know, are there some sounds? Is there a shape? So just take a moment and just allow yourself to just be there with that. All right. So now that you have this empowered portion, we're gonna capture that down.
Yeah, again, go ahead and draw that out. But this time we're not drawing it out so we can get rid of it. We're going to start drawing it out as a reminder, as a visual reminder. So this is my Amy Cuddy power pose that I drew here in one of my A people that I like to draw. And having a visual reminder of what this confident, powerful pose feels like, just seeing this from across the room will trigger in your mind how it actually feels in your body to be in that confident state. So I encourage you to draw it up and put it someplace where you can see as a reminder, a daily reminder of how to step into your confidence.
Awesome. Take a moment and draw that now. And while you're drawing that, I'm just gonna set you up of what's next to come. Um, so we embodied what is our uncertainty, what is fear. We embodied confidence. And in just a moment, I'm going to take you through a visualization exercise where you're going to play with them and you're going to see how it feels in your body. And this is just the start. Fun fact, I believe her name was Dr. Karen Previs. She did research, especially with kids, on learning, and you know, we are just, I like to say, we are just kids who atrophy. Adults are, but her research showed that to create a new synapse in the brain, a new, you know, sort of neural pathway, it takes about 400 to 420 repetitions. However, if you encompass play, you can shortcut that down to 10 to 20. And so what we're going to do is we're going to start to play with it. I'm going to again take you through like consider it like a guided meditation. And we're going to sort of play around with our fear and with our confidence. And it will sort of jumpstart you being able to consciously play with it. So when you're in a higher stakes scenario, maybe before that big meeting where that fear shows up, that uncertainty shows up, you can step into your confidence and be able to be the best version of yourself going into that meeting. So we're about to get going on that. And if you are ready to do it, let me get a few yeses in the chat. It's going to be a lot of fun. All right, ready. Yes. All right.
Love it.
Love it. So what we're going to do, I still wish I could see all of your faces. I'm just imagining, I'm imagining in it. But like I said, put yourself in a place where you can be safe. So if you're driving, just remember what we're doing so that when you're in a safe spot, you know, you can do that. Or if you're sort of out and about and you're not in a familiar spot, again, I believe this is being recorded and you'll get access to this so that you can come back and check it out. But sit in a place that is comfortable for you, and you may want to close your eyes. All right, and once you're in a place that is comfortable, with your eyes closed or your gaze down, whatever feels good for you, I'm just going to invite you to take a big deep breath in, hold it, and let it out, and relax. Awesome. Take a bigger, deeper breath in. Hold it. Let it out and relax. All right. Now, with your eyes closed or your gaze down, I'd like to have you imagine that you were sitting in a movie theater. And this is in a safe time when movie theaters are appropriate and we can be there safely, and you're looking up at a big screen, and in that big screen a movie starts playing, and that movie is your fear. So imagine that now. Imagine what that would feel like, what that would look like, that picture that you created. Imagine that it's there and you can see it nice and big. And imagine, you know, whatever sounds are there, you hear it. Now, imagine that in your hand was a remote control. And there's a few buttons on it. And one of the buttons is titled Next. And when you click that, pops that scene of confidence. So now you're watching in full HD color the time when you were confident. Imagine that just wash over your body now. How does it feel? How does it sound? What do you hear? All right, now in your hand, with that remote, you click that button and you go back to that fear state. And your body transforms into that fear posture. But you also notice in that remote that you have a few controls at your disposal on the remote, and one of them is slow. And you push that button, and whatever that fear scene is, it goes in slow motion. How does that feel? How is that different? And then you push another button, and it says fast forward, and that fear scene goes a little bit faster. And then you go between going slow and fast. You're enjoying this so much that you realize there was another button, B and W. And when you click that, your fear goes into black and white. And you're still playing with the fast and the slow. And you were playing with it so much so that imagine, you're sitting in the movie theater looking up at this scene, and it's like one of those old timey movies with the 8mm film, and you see a little rip on the screen, and as it starts to rip, you see something behind it, and it's that moment, that scene when you were confident starts to shine through, and it starts to rip, and as it's ripping, coming through is that moment when you were confident, tearing away that moment of fear and uncertainty. And now you see, as it was intended, that moment of confidence. Just take a moment and sit with that. How does it make you feel? All right, and when you're ready, you can slowly come back to the here and now and flutter your eyes open. And we like to say, when you're in this state of confidence, you might have noticed that you were more clear, more able to see things. And so we're going to take advantage of this right now.
Mm-hmm.
And start to write and start to draw.
Yeah. So go ahead and start to write down some of the information that you received while you were doing this exercise. Maybe there's some action items that you can take that became very clear of how to move from that state, transform from the state of fear into that state of confidence. Or maybe there's some action items that you can take. We wrote down our uncertainty at the beginning of this session. Do you have any clarity around some of that uncertainty? Go ahead and jot down whatever messages you kind of downloaded during this time. I'm going to put a cue into the chat. if you are feeling so inspired to share some of what you experienced, if you had a big aha that came through during this last part of the session, go ahead and just add it into the chat. We'd love to see what people are experiencing behind these screens. I also wanted to give a big shout out to Ona, who has been drawing along and capturing all of the ideas that we've been sharing. You can hover over her image that she's creating here and pin that drawing, and you'll be able to see it bigger on your screen. So feel free to visit that and check out what she's up to.
Some great insights coming through from Heather. Learned that I was more concerned about others than realizing I'm more capable of facing my fear. Love it. Some insight: when you're noticing fear, stop, change posture, visualize confidence. Yes, exactly. Shapes and colors can be scary, but when we realize we control them all, they become less scary. Huge.
That the black and white imagery made me think that my fear of the future is as real, quote unquote, as the old-timey movies. It's not real. I can see the movie skipping the lines and the frames. It's not real. Ah, love that.
Yes, welcome welcome to the Matrix.
Oh, Mike said my mind needs a chance to rest sometimes. So beautiful.
Yes.
Another one, Karina says, I realized that I should pay attention to myself and take time off.
Yes, you can move through it.
I'm addicted to reading all these. Like, knowing that fear is temporary, I can move through it. Love it.
The reward is greater.
Nice.
Alrighty then. Want to thank you so much for putting these insights into the chat. I want to bring a few people up if you're interested, to share some of your drawings, talk about maybe some of your takeaways. If you are want to be brave and come on up, you can just hit that raise hand and we'll bring you up. If not, no worries, you can put it into the chat. But like we said, we wanted to create as much as a workshop feel as possible, given our constraints of being distanced through these screens. So if anyone would love to share any of your takeaways and show some of your drawings and sketches, just raise your hand and we'll promote you briefly to panelists.
I love this.
That's all good.
Seeing all the bravery that's coming in through the chat. Like I'm really like feeling this vulnerability and the emotion and the transfer into like the strength and recognizing that we really have control over these emotions that seem so big sometimes.
Cool. All right. So we're bringing some people up. So we will spotlight you as well. All right. Cool. Please let us know your name. I rather have you pronounce it than me butcher it.
My name's Charlotte Cushy.
Oh, hi Charlotte.
Hi.
What would you like to share with us?
Yeah, I also spoke in the chat, but I think it's really evident in kind of the drawings, kind of how I feel like. So if you go from here, you're closed, everything's kind of attacking you, it's all dark, but actually if you flip it into something like that, it's just the same scene, but actually it's you've kind of, it's the same, as you said, it's those same actions and you can just progress them in whatever way. And I like what someone else is saying, sort of like fear is temporary in your mind. So, I like that. We'll try and take that forward.
Yes, I love it. I love it.
Like that motion on just like Wonderland, just like.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Anything else you would like to? Any other takeaways, insights?
I think like, especially like when everyone's in meetings and things like that, we try and focus on what's ahead of us and try and really kind of tense up in the moment. But actually having a little doodle, thinking about something on a piece of paper, things just kind of rattle around in your mind. But after that, they just seem freer. So yeah, I think that's something to let go a little bit, and you can do that through pen and paper, which is really simple, really, isn't it?
I love it. Yes. Cool. Well, thank you so much for sharing. We really appreciate your bravery, Charlotte. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Awesome. Okay.
But I noticed, Gary, do we have anybody else who wants to share right now?
It doesn't look like it, but some
Okay.
great stuff here in the,
Yeah.
I'd love to go through some of these things in the chat here. Michelle moved from feeling uncertain about what is within me to create embodied as a gasping to an image of flourishing waterfall of life flowing within me. Wow. A lot of strong parallels here. And these are some, powerful techniques that, as, we played around together, hopefully you start to realize that these are things that are within you that you have the capability to play with. And, like I said, with repetition, it will give you, the chance to get better so that when the stakes are higher, this can be more of a conscious response than just letting your body go into autopilot and you have that sort of lizard brain taking control over you in times when you're like, man, what's going on? And we wanted to, give you some goodies. Again, if we were in person, we would hand these out. So we're gonna paste a link where you can be able to get a few things. One, be able to get the beautiful drawing that Ona is sketching out for us, plus some additional meditations for myself. And at a time in the future, it's going to be in a bit from now, we will most likely do an encore presentation for this. So we want to, um, be able to invite you to that. So I'm going to paste that into the chat.
Yeah,
right
and
now.
There's one other tool that we're sharing is a habit tracker.
Yes.
So I'll talk a little bit more about that, but in what we're going to send you, if you're able to send us your email, we will send you a habit tracker that will help you take actions, small actions every day that start to add up and get you to that place of mastery. So Jewel said in the chat, the reward is far greater than the fear. And I love that. I love keeping that in mind. And like we said, this is a full day session. We're just giving you a taste of what we're doing right now, but reward is one of the things that we really want to impress, that celebrating the successes that you have, that's how you start to create that real incremental change within your mind. So just as a recap, we started out looking at our fears this morning. We tapped into it. We looked at where it was in our body. We started to draw it out and doodle it out in the form of a monster, so we could take it outside of our minds and put it into something tangible that's paper in this case. And then we also jumped ahead. Gary brought us to this place where we're feeling confident and empowered in our own bodies, into that state of mastery itself. And that is the point where we are able to start having great clarity and start making some of those decisions that many of you have put in the chat and demonstrated that to be true. So I had you write down a couple of the maybe action items that you got, steps that you could take to move forward towards that mastery. That's just a tiny part of that strategy. So perhaps those are activities that you could start to practice and track in your daily habit tracker for the next 30 days. A few things that we weren't able to get into in this session is the decision making and the focus, and how that creates this real point of concentration for you to start making some really massive changes. From there, we would talk a little bit more about the drive and what's using that fear and transforming it into a motivator that's going to keep you moving forward through some tough spots. Then Joel noted is having some of reward and celebrating when we've reached that point where we're really at a place of stability and confidence with our uncertainties and our fears. And then of course, into our mastery section.
Yes.
Um,
And
Go ahead, Gary.
yeah, I was going to say, to end us out, we want to celebrate you all. So if you can just put into the chat, what are some things that you're going to do as a result? Already saw some people going to keep doodling. What else? What are you going to take with you and keep playing with? So go ahead and put that into the chat. And we want to celebrate you. We appreciate you all. We know that there's so many sessions that you could be attending, and you chose to come to ours. And we wish that we can be in person, but since we can't, we're doing the best that we can. But look at some of these. Going to get fear out of my head.
I'm going to surround myself with images of confidence.
Love all of this.
Embody fear and draw it out. Adding meditation as part of my daily routine and my regular practice.
Yes. Yes, worry prevents you from taking action. Worry is just misuse of your imagination.
Visualize confidence as an impact and how I feel in my body. Thanks, Martin.
Yes. And that's pretty much all that we have. But we're going to be around for a little bit if you have questions. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pump up the jams.
Yes.
If you guys want to just sort of dance it out. But hope you have an amazing rest of your day and a rest of your time here at South by Virtual. Please keep in touch.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much for coming. Mona, great job.
Awesome. You guys, great job.
Adina, do not feel guilty about doodling.
Right? More doodling, please.
Oh, you've been graphic recording the whole time. If you ever want to talk more about that, feel free to reach out. If anybody wants to come up on, I think you can chat with people, right, Gary?
Yeah, we can.
Want to raise your hand and come and we're hanging out for a while. So.
Yeah, the stream's gonna be ended in a minute or so, but yeah.
Good.